But let me get you the top story from Kabul. Major General Chris Donahue of the 82nd Airborne Division of the United States Army was the last US soldier to pull out of Kabul after 20 years of US deployment in Afghanistan. And moments after, the last C-17 Globemaster took off firing flares and chaffs, the Taliban opened up in the night sky to celebrate. In the morning, a Taliban helicopter flew over Kandahar with what appears to be a lifeless body hanging from that helicopter. And we will show you that image of that lifeless body hanging from a helicopter. Taliban took control of the Hamid Karzai International Airport, and the 313 Badri Battalion of the Taliban, armed to the teeth, took control of the airport. Our top story is from Kabul tonight.
As soon as the last US personnel left Afghanistan soil, top commanders of the Taliban, Zabiullah Mujahid and Anas Haqqani, visited Kabul airport to take stock of what has been left behind by the US military.
The US aggression was a reckless act from the beginning. We told the US at the same time that they should not invade our territory. They should have talked to us about the problems that happened in 2001. And there was no need for war. Unfortunately, the US officials used arrogance at the time.
Taliban is in full control of Kabul airport, holding guns, sitting casually. The images on your screen show Taliban inside the ATC tower. And as Taliban declared final victory on Tuesday, brutal images surfaced. Scary visuals of a man hanging from a helicopter hovering around Kandahar. Ironically, a Black Hawk chopper left behind by the US Army. Bureau Report, India Today.
Sher Abbas Tanikzai, one of the key leaders of Taliban, sought and met the Indian ambassador at Doha, Qatar today. This is the first officially acknowledged meeting between India and Taliban. This was a meeting at Taliban's request. The Indian envoy is understood to have raised the issue of safety of Indian citizens in Afghanistan and insisted that Afghan territory should not be used for anti-India activities. Geeta Mohan brings us this report.
India and the Taliban have made their first official contact. A senior member of the Taliban leadership, Sher Mohammad Abbas Tanikzai, has met Indian envoy to Qatar, Deepak Mittal, in Doha. The meeting took place at the Embassy of India at Doha at the request of the Taliban side. The meeting was focused on safety, security and early return of Indian nationals stranded in Afghanistan. The travel of Afghan nationals, especially minorities who wish to visit India, also came up during the discussion. Ambassador Mittal raised India's concern that Afghanistan's soil should not be used for anti-Indian activities and terrorism in any manner. The Taliban representatives assured the ambassador that these issues would be positively addressed. India has said it is committed to evacuating stranded Afghan minorities who may want to leave the country after the Taliban takeover. India today has also learned from sources that PM Modi has directed a high-level group comprising of External Affairs Minister, National Security Advisor and senior officials to focus on the immediate priorities of India. But can Taliban be trusted? India hasn't forgotten how Pakistan used Afghanistan and Taliban after the hijack of IC-814, Indian Airlines flight from Kathmandu. In 1999, the Taliban government allowed the hijackers to escape to Pakistan. Taliban permitted the terrorists released by India, including Masood Azhar, to travel to Pakistan, where he founded Jaish-e-Mohammed, an organization responsible for a spate of high-profile attacks across India.
Taliban won't allow any other country to be endangered by us. We assure India, other countries that Taliban will not be a threat to them.
India has spent over $3 billion in Afghanistan since the Taliban was uprooted from Kabul in 2001. Taliban has urged India to continue with the development projects in Afghanistan.
We want good relations with India. It's an important country in the region. India always had good relations with Afghanistan, and we would like to continue that.
India's engagement with Taliban would depend on Taliban adhering to India's red lines. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let me now get you the inside track of this meeting. Joining me on the broadcast is Major General Sanjay Meston, our former defense attaché to Afghanistan. Also with me is Ambassador Pinak Chakravarti, former secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. Also with me is India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan. And Geeta, if I could quickly bring you in, what are sources in the government telling you? What was this meeting all about? Especially the fact that Taliban sought this meeting. Why?
Well, Gaurav, this is the first officially acknowledged meeting between the Taliban and the Indian administration. We have been given to understand in the past that it is not like India has not been engaging the Taliban, but at what level, at which level is something that is still not yet in the open. The only first official open meeting officially acknowledged by the Indian side is this one. And it is at, if you see the Taliban side, at the highest level. Stanizai is one of the top leaders of the Taliban, who's not just engaging India, but engaging all other countries as well. So when it comes to foreign relations, the Taliban looks to Stanizai for negotiations and for engagement. India's ambassador to Doha, Deepak Mittal, Gaurav, has been very strong ass-packed hand, so to say. He was the Joint Secretary, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran division, and for many reasons, and one was then posted to Doha. He has continued engagements with various quarters and stakeholders in Doha, given that all of them land up there. And now we see an official engagement, and like you very rightly said, a few very important key points have been touched upon during that meeting. One, the safe passage for not just Indians, but also Afghan minorities. Secondly, that Afghan soil should not be used against India. These are very important issues and areas of concern for New Delhi, which was spelled out with Stanizai, again, Stanizai in old India hand.
Absolutely. General Meston, Sher Abbas Stanizai had trained at the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun. But is this, in your appreciation, a general outreach by the Taliban to democracies around, or do you see this as a specific meeting? Is Taliban seeking recognition or even resources from India?
Gaurav, firstly, I would like to state that it is not seeking engagement or recognition. I think they have made initial request, and the government of India or the Indian ambassador in Qatar, Mr. Deepak Mittal, who incidentally also happened to be the Joint Secretary,
yes,
PAI, that is the Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran desk prior to this appointment. So what has happened is that we have given some terms of reference or the red lines. Now, I would like to add something more. I think in the red line or in the terms of reference, we have talked about no terrorist activity from Afghan soil.
Yes.
I would like to get this modified. See, let us see, the sponsors of terrorism is ISI and Pak Army. And whether it is Taliban, whether it is Haqqani, whether it is ISK, all these are the basic groups which have been propped up in Pakistan, being trained there, supported there, and everything. So they have nurtured them. So therefore, the term of reference should include no terrorist activity against India from Afghanistan, Pakistan. That should come out very clearly.
Sure, and but how will Taliban ensure that when you have a state sponsor of terror, that's Pakistan, in the neighborhood, that in a way also tried to control the Taliban? Whether it succeeds or not, we'll see. But Ambassador Chakravarti, what we're also seeing are reports of that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar, traveling to Kandahar, meeting Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, and from reports that have emerged, sought weapons and sought fighters and focus on Jammu and Kashmir. In the light of those developments, when you hear of this meeting that's taking place at Doha, And the fact that Taliban has sought this meeting, is this a general outreach, or in your appreciation, is there something more specific that's cooking?
Well, let me begin by saying that the Taliban is trying, at least the leadership is trying to show a different face to the world. And they are reaching out to different countries. And that is why you saw this outreach to India as well. And this is part of their strategy, the leadership's strategy, to reach out for recognition. And if you read this outreach with the statement and the tweets made by the Pakistan NSA, that he's in fact issued a threat almost that if you don't deal with the Taliban, if you don't recognize them, then it will be back to the bad old days. I mean, something to that effect.
Oh, what's the effect that you prepare for another 9/11?
Well, he didn't say 9/11, but he said, you should be prepared for the consequences. Exactly the wording is there. So I think this is clearly a kind of a jugalbandi that is going on, that the leadership has been told and advised, look, you please behave in a moderate manner. But the pictures that you are showing shows that moderation is probably limited to public diplomacy. Their actual acts on the ground seem to show that they are out on a spree of taking revenge against many Afghans and others who would have worked or helped with the Americans. So I don't think that we are at a stage now to really believe them. And I think the proof, once they form a government, so then we will see, because recognition can only be given to a government, because if they control the territory and are in power
and the road ahead. So that's a fair point you make. The road ahead on government formation and General Meston, since you've been posted there, since you can tell us more about Taliban, will there be, in your view, fissures between those who were at Doha, perhaps Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar and Sher Abbas Stanekzai and the Haqqani network? Because today at the airport, the images that our viewers are seeing is Anas Haqqani at the Kabul airport. So is that perhaps the Haqqani network saying, we are in control of Kabul, the airport and the resources, and is everyone on Taliban on the same page on that?
Gaurav, I would like to highlight that the fissures have already started surfacing, and this will continue to surface within Taliban, with Haqqani, and with the other groups, and including with Pakistan. And these fissures are going to be one of the biggest challenge for Afghanistan, for the Taliban to form a coalition government. One of the biggest fissures is, the so-called Qatari Taliban or the Kandhari Taliban. They are looking for an inclusive government to get, the various erstwhile mujahids. Now the Haqqani, which is a hardcore, they are looking for, firstly, attack on Panjshir. They are not even ready to reconcile and, look for some peaceful solution there. They are looking for that. Number two, they are looking for tough measures. And therefore, now another fallout would be, see, this is in the larger perspective. Now I would like to highlight that there is going to be a lot of resentment among the Taliban cadres and among even the leadership who will not get some portfolios, some governorship. What will they do? They will thereafter start migrating to ISK. In fact, now that is going to be a big problem. One of the biggest challenges to Taliban, that any dissident, including from Haqqani, who does not, be part of a system, will start migrating to Haqqani.
But in the immediate future, there are two very pertinent points you raised, and I want our producers to show that image of a man dangling from a helicopter over Kandahar. Now, what kind of a message is this, Ambassador Chakrabarti? And are you also on the same page that there are fissures between the Kandahari Taliban or the Afghan Taliban and the Haqqani network, or those who've come from Pakistan? And I don't want to say Pakistani Taliban because then people will think that is TTP. Haqqanis versus maybe Mullah Akhundzada or Mullah Baradar and Sher Abbas Stanekzai and the others, sir.
Well, it's natural that there will be fissures in the leadership because they come from different parts of the country. And then there is the Pakistani interest, the Haqqanis, etc., who are seen as a veritable arm of the ISI and Pakistan army. So there will be fissures because Pakistan is going to demand its pound of flesh now, saying that, look, we helped you, we armed you, we gave you sanctuaries, we strategized for you, now you have conquered the country, you're in power, where is my payback? And that payback will be in the form of what they did last time, is to send the Jaish and the Lashkars so that they can be shown as not in Pakistan but in Afghanistan, for which Pakistan will try to take credit and try to say, look, at the FATF, they will try to wriggle out of that, the grey list and come into the normal sort of domain. These are the kind of tactics I expect them to follow.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how far the Taliban will be able to, withstand the pressure, or will they be able to control it? I mean, do they have enough control over the country? After all, Haqqanis are there, ISK is there. ISK has a lot of disgruntled Talibans.
Yes.
And so I think there's an excess all over the place. And I don't know, Pakistan ISI will definitely try to use the territory for their own purpose.
To use it as strategic depth. And General Meston, last 30 seconds on the broadcast, this image of a body dangling from a helicopter, is this Taliban's chilling message to any dissident or anyone who may want to perhaps talk about freedom or the Afghan National Army?
Definitely, this is a strong message being conveyed, and this is what exactly we have been highlighting, that Taliban 2.0 or Taliban Mark II is actually going to be in a much deadlier form. This display of Badri 313, etc. These are all psychological attempts to show to the world. And, I also apprehend that since Americans have left some of their citizens, I think one thing which is a possibility is they can start taking some American hostages, or they may have already been taken, they have not declared them. At the appropriate moment, they may declare and then negotiate, for recognition and for, of course, funds, etc. So situation is going to be very, very critical. And these are all kinds of psychological warfare display so that the people start giving in. And especially the Afghan army people also, who are now in Panjshir Valley, who are, gone there, to again convey to them, your families can be threatened, your next of kin can be threatened. So this kind of a thing will keep on, and Mark II Taliban is going to be more bad for Afghanistan in the long run.
And especially now that they have American weapons, Ambassador, with these American weapons, of course, the Americans are now saying, at least that's what is emerging through sources, that they have demilitarized the aircraft, they've demilitarized the helicopter, they are no longer airworthy. But we still see some of these heptas flying. And in your appreciation, can they be made airworthy with Pakistan's help and pose a big challenge to the resistance at Panjshir?
Well, certainly Pakistan will try, and I think China will also try. I mean, to definitely make them airworthy. China may even take some of them away to do the usual technology studies, to copy some of them, which they have been doing for a very long time. And so I think you might see some of these helicopters back in action. But I don't know how far. I mean, they may be able to fly, but will they be effective in terms of their weaponry, their guidance systems, avionics? There's a lot of software.
Oh, absolutely. But we'll be tracking developments on that story very closely. Ambassador Chakravarti and General Meston for joining me here on India First. Many thanks. A quick break coming up on the other side with Aba Bakaya. The fastest GDP growth since mid-1990s, IPO boom in September. All that and much more on the Business Today show. Stay with us.